Welcome to Barchart's series of webinars designed to educate you about a variety of market concepts, inform you of the features and tools Barchart provides related to those concepts, and finally offer you some trader's insight to help you make a more informed investment decision. Today's subject, trend trading using Barchart's strength and direction. Now, as I wrote in our description for today's session, that traders and race car drivers have a lot in common. Both have the ability to calculate risk quickly, and their trust and reliance on instruments to help them assess that risk. Barchart's proprietary opinion, strength, and direction indicator is very similar to a race car driver's speedometer and tachometer. They both confirm the velocity and the performance of their engines. Now, in the case of a trader, the engine of price, trend. Hello, everyone. My name is John Rowland, Barchart's head of trading education, and please stick around today as we discuss how to read Barchart's strength and direction instrument panel, and more importantly, how to drive this race car we call trend. Now, before we get to that, please welcome my partner and our moderator, Barchart's project director, Gene Baker. Hello, Gene.
Good afternoon, John. How are you?
I am doing fine. Before we came on, we were both talking about how beautiful fall-like weather we're both having. So I'm kind of looking forward to getting outside, as you said you were too.
That's correct. And we are also thinking about everybody down in the Florida area. Heard from a few people. Roger is in Miami, and they escaped. So hopefully everybody is safe down there as well.
Well said, Gene. Yeah, for sure. Make sure you keep your heads down there, folks. And, we're all thinking about you. Okay, you ready to get started?
Let's get going.
Right, just remember that today's session is for educational purposes only, and decisions to buy, sell, hold, or trade in securities, commodities, or any other investments involve risk and best made based on the advice of a qualified financial professional. And under no circumstances shall we be liable for any losses or damage you or anyone else incurs as a result of any trading or investment activity that you or anyone engages in, based on information or material that you receive through barchart.com and or our services. Okay. So when we go to our main page, any one of our pages, any symbol out there, be it a stock, for instance, this is Microsoft, we can find something that's called the Barchart technical opinion. Now, the technical opinion is going to look at multiple technical analysis and kind of sort it all together and give us an overall opinion. Now, we can find it here on the Barchart's technical opinion, but also over here on the technical side, we can find Barchart opinion. Now, these are not like a stock market analyst opinion. All this is we break down certain technical indicators. But be it a stock or an ETF or a futures market or a currency, or even any of our data lists or a watch list that you create, there is a way for us to find that technical information. Up here under the data opinion is going to take you to that data opinion. So at Barchart, we are so confident that this Barchart technical opinion tool will help you in your technical analysis. It's literally only one click away, no matter what, where you are on our page. So here is the S&P index, and I just wanted to show you again. Here's our technical indication page, and I'm going to open that up, and we're going to talk about what it's all about. So first of all, we have something what is called the overall average or the overall opinion. Now, the overall opinion looks at the historical data across 13 different technical analysis or indicators, and it takes into consideration the common interpretation of that particular indicator. And then it assigns it a buy or sell or hold signal. Now, for example, if we're thinking about a moving average, right? And because a moving average is a collection of data points from periods past, an uptrending moving average price tends to be above that moving average. So when price crosses from below a moving average, that indicator will generate a buy signal. So first of all, I'm going to just kind of show you what I'm talking about here. Here's the 20-day moving average for the S&P. If I open that up, you can see here we have a sell signal, right? The sell signal, the common interpretation is because price is now closed below the moving average. But if I come over here on the left, you can see here price crossed from below and closed above the moving average, creating a buy signal. And in this uptrend, you can see that price tends to stay above the moving average. And then when price closed below it, that created a sell signal. And we had two sell signals recent. We got one buy signal here. We closed above the moving average, creating that buy signal that could indicate a change in trend. But immediately the next day, we got price to close below that moving average and issuing a new sell signal. So the overall indicator, overall average is an aggregate of all of these moving averages or technical indicators. So they're divided into three time frames: short, medium, and long term. So if all 13 of our technical indicators are showing the same signal, and for instance, in this case, we can see for the S&P, we have 12 of the 13 are showing a sell signal. But if all 13 were selling the same signal, then the overall opinion would be 100%. And each descending signal would change the percentage. So you can see one dissenting changes it to 88. But for our discussion today, we're going to concentrate more on this, the current strength and current direction signals as we go through our process. So again, let me open up my help section, and we can see that our strength signal is a long-term measurement tool. It looks at the performance over the past 200 days. Now for futures, it's 100 days. Now in terms of our race car, this is really the speed of our trend. The faster the trend, the greater the angle of inclination of our trend, and i.e. the greater the speed. So again, let's go back to our 20-day moving average. Notice that it is, again, that sell signal. And if I look at this, right, we can see that the angle of inclination is very steep. And that is indicating to us that our trend, in this case, this measurement is very fast, right? We're seeing our race car is kind of going very quickly. Sell signal, strength and direction, right? Nice strength in that trend. Our direction signal is more of a short term a 3-day momentum of current price movement as it relates to the indicator signal that we're looking at. Now, in terms of our race car, this is kind of our tachometer, right? Is our trend revving, or is it idling, or has it just shifted gears? But also notice that we see in our definition, it talks about something called divergence. Now, divergence is telling us how far or near price is moving from our indicator. If it's moving away, it's increasing the distance. That leads to divergence. And that is our engine is revving, that our trend momentum is increasing. If price retreats or moves closer to our indicator, then our engine's RPMs or its speed is falling. And this could be an indication of a momentum change. We also have a hold signal, and the hold signal is really our engine is idling. It's waiting to rev up. And our trend is most likely in a sideways action. It's waiting to be put into, let's say, first gear as we move from steady to rising to bullish or steady to bearish. So how are we going to use this? How are we going to use this information? How are we going to interpret it? Well, what we want to do is we want to discover positive shifts in our momentum, our direction, that are in line with our strength signal. In other words, our speed of our trend. So here's a little tip for you, a little trader's tip. This is the way how I kind of remember it. As you know, are we talking about long term or short term? So strength starts with the letter S, and so does speed or speedometer. So I always remember that our strength is kind of like the speedometer of our trend. And D, right, our direction, D, is in drive, right? When in our car, we see the letter D is telling us drive. We're shifting gears. So direction to me is always about momentum, shifting gears, right? Is my trend strengthening or is it weakening? That's a kind of little tip for you. That's how I kind of remember it. All right, so I'm back here on the S&P. So where do we start? Well, we have two jumping off points we can go to. First, I'll look just at the snapshot opinion. And what this is really looking at is our overall aggregate of these, all of these different indicators that we have. And what I want to see is it increasing or decreasing over this period of time that we're looking at? 1 month, last week, yesterday. And how does that relate to my price trend, right? Is it increasing? Is my price trend increasing or is it decreasing? And that could be an indication, you know, of what I'm looking for, the opportunities that I'm looking for. Again, if we look back at our S&P index, right, our trend has been very strong to the downside, but in the short term, right, we're seeing a little bit of a momentum shift. If I look at my strength and direction on, let's say, my 20-day moving average, right, our strength is average, right? You know, average speed, maybe like, you know, we could say, you know, like 45, 50 miles an hour. But our direction, our momentum in the last 3 days has gotten weak or is weakness. And that's kind of telling us that there's a shift in momentum. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing, right? That doesn't mean that our market is going to change direction. We're going to have to do other further investigation, right? Weakness is not necessarily a bad thing. It just might be a pause in our greater trend. But if my overall indicator is signaling a majority, in this case, we see a lot of sell signals, and then my direction, I start seeing a lot of weakness or weakening. Now, this could be an indication that our trend might be running out of gas. So let's jump to another market. Here is an ETF. This is a bullish dollar index, so dollar, and this is the UUP. And you can see here that our overall current strength is in the top 1%. In other words, every one of our technical indicators, our short, medium, and long-term indicators are all buy signals. In other words, bullish. And we're getting the maximum reading, right? And we're in the top 1% of that. If I look at my strength and direction on each one of these indicators, my current direction, it's strengthening, right? It's still very, very strong, right? Now let's look at, let's say, something like the 20-day, 100-day moving averages, right? Look at our 100-day moving average, right? Nice, steady uptrend, nice, steady, strong. Our 20-day steady, right? And what is happening? Our 20-day is moving away from our 100-day. It's diverging away. What has price been doing? Well, price has moved away, right? It's diverged away. That's what's giving that strength. And if we look at this over a greater period of time, you can almost see that this is almost parabolic at this point. So this really showing us a very, very strong trend. But in the short term, what is price doing as it relates to our 20-day moving average and our 100-day moving average? Well, price is stalling and it's changing direction. The momentum is slowing, right? In other words, we're still ripping down the road 100 miles an hour, but maybe what we're seeing here is a little bit of a shift in momentum. Now, again, this might not be a bad scenario for us. It might just means that we're find a better opportunity to wait to buy into the strength of the dollar. And notice that our 20-day moving average, our direction is the weakest. That momentum has changed. Our 100-day moving average, our momentum is weakening, right? That divergence, we're moving closer to our moving average. Again, not necessarily a bad thing, especially considering that most of our indicators are at maximum and strongest. So this could actually be an opportunity for us to look for a buying opportunity in this particular ETF. So let's take that thought a little bit further, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to a screener. And if you don't know where to find our stock screener, it's right there, stock screener. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of build a screener for you guys where I'm going to think about, I want to find stocks that have good strength. In other words, an established moving average or a trending market. And what I'm looking to look for is that shift in the market. I want to see that kind of that momentum has slowed, but maybe that it's just giving me an opportunity to re-engage in my trend analysis, re-engage that longer term trend and looking for, our markets to move forward again. So what I'm going to do here is let's start with just the basics. Let's go in here and I'm going to under my lists and profiles. I'm going to go into a watch list. Now, you could do any watch list you want. I'm just going to do, a big basket here. Let's do the S&P. And then I'm going to go into Barchart opinion and I'm going to look at the overall. And I want to know, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look for a buy signal. Again, I want to just see an overall buy. And then I'm going to look at my strength opinion. I'm going to add that. And I want to find those markets in the S&P that have a good, strong, or max. Maybe not the top 100, the top 1%. Maybe those ones have gotten a little bit far away. I want to see ones that are just steady, right? Nice and steady, kind of easy going there. So then I'm going to look at the overall opinion direction. And here's where we're going to take that tack. We're going to say, well, we know we're going to look for a strong trending market, but what we want to do here is Now we want to see where we've kind of paused, or where our engine is kind of revved and is ready to shift gears again, move forward. So again, what I said was weakening is not so bad as long as it's moving forward from recent days, average, and let's say strengthening. Okay, so I'm looking at the S&P 500. I'm looking for a buy signal. I'm looking for a variety of stocks that have what I would consider an established uptrend. And what I'm going to look for is those that have impulsed, but now have drawn back. I'm looking for an opportunity to buy, so-called buy a dip, maybe buy a higher low in this case. And what's my result? Well, look at that. We only get 12 out of 500 stocks that are showing these characteristics. Now, if I go to my flip charts and I look at some of these stocks, and what we're going to see is the chart patterns is going to be very similar. And this is what I was kind of talking to you about. So in this case, an ALB, we have a nice long-term trend, right? And recently we've kind of broken out of this little pendant formation. And in recent days, right, last week or so, we made a new high, and now we've come back and found support, a little impulse correction, a little drawback. And now the market has kind of found an area where we would anticipate it to find support if this bull trend is in control, right? We've made a new high, and now we've made a higher low. And our momentum here, our engine, right? Last 3 days, we kind of paused, we kind of got a little weak, but now we're seeing our engine is revving up. This would be a great opportunity if that's the style of trading that I want to look for. I want to kind of look for an opportunity to buy a pullback on, a stock that has exhibited a longer term uptrend. Now, on terms of risk management on this one, this would be a very easy risk management, right? Look for an entry somewhere in this area, and we could either use this last low right here or this last low over here to tell us that we're wrong. And again, if I looked at my direction signal, right? Here, my direction signal is strengthening, and that is confirming my trend. If I saw this direction signal starting to weaken from this point, then that might be concern for me. But right now, what I'm seeing is that my momentum is increasing. In other words, my car is going down the road. I've just changed gears, and now it looks like it's ready to accelerate again. Let's look at a couple other examples. This is Cigna. Again, look at our chart. Very similar, right? Nice uptrend, little impulse move, and we've come back into an area of support where we're re-engaging our trend. And again, if I look at my opinion indicator, right, our direction is average, but our trend is strong. Enphase, one of the stocks that's been in the news recently. I believe this is a solar stock. Again, big impulse here, new all-time high, and looks like we've got a little bit of a floor here, right? Now, what are we seeing? Well, we're seeing, right, our momentum is starting to create. Our car engine is revving in gear. Our trend is starting to come back into play. Again, if I look at my opinion, right, strong trend, strengthening momentum. All right, let's look at maybe one more. This one, LW, is one that I've been playing recent. I don't have a position in it right now, but it's definitely been one that we've highlighted in some of our sessions in the recent weeks and months. And again, kind of the same picture, right? The only thing that I have concerned about LW was, this recent high fell into this area of resistance. And again, if you looked at this chart, somebody who was a chart pattern and double top here, that might be a little bit of concerning for me. What I might be more inclined on this one, here's a dip buy. Maybe I'm only looking for a small price movement as we come back and test this here. Or what I could do now is wait. Let's see if this can break out of this range. The other one that I just wanted to show you was General Mills, because I thought this chart pattern would be something you guys would recognize. This is sometimes referred to as a bull flag, right? So again, what are we seeing, right? An impulse correction based on that screener that we created. And here we will probably wait, see if we break out of this channel, right? And what's our risk? The bottom of this green candle. So there's probably a nice little risk reward ratio on this one, because if we break out of this flag, technical analysis says that we should accelerate or get as high as the last flagpole movement. So this one is kind of projecting, as long as we stay above, looks like $77, and we can break out above, let's say 78.50, we could get a run here up to around $84. Again, more technical analysis, but how did we find the stock? Well, we looked at that screener criteria of a strong, good trend overall. All those trends, all those indicators are showing strength, and we're looking for that impulse correction move, right? As our short-term momentum is strengthening. Now, that's just one way we can use this. Maybe that's not your style. Maybe you want to just look at the strongest, right, or the top one percenters, right? And there's something maximum. You want to see strength across the board. And if I do that result, notice what we have. We get down to 6. Now, most of the same stocks that we just looked at, but I think this is more about what we're seeing in the overall stock market, and less about our strength and direction indicator. Right? Think about this. Our criteria was, we want to see, full throttle, right? Full engine, our engine at peak performance. And out of the 500 S&P stocks, only 6 fall into this category. So I think this speaks volumes to what we're seeing in the market right now.
By the way, John, if I could say something, a few people have asked that screener template that you just showed us, those different filters. If you go to our webinar archive page, you were going to get a link to the recording to this webinar later on. We have those filters in the slides. John can show you that toward the very end of the webinar. Yeah, just wanted to mention that those are available for you later on. Okay.
Yeah, that's what Gene said. We're going to attach this to the webinar page. So this is the one that I showed you, the first one I showed you. Okay. All right. Thanks, Gene. So let's look at a couple other markets here as our time is moving along. So I want to go into futures markets, and there's a reason why I want to go into futures markets. So first, let's start from the overall price page. Notice up here we don't see the Barchart technical opinion page. We see something that's called Barchart's trading guide. Now, this is a trading system that's based on one particular trading technical indicator, but I can click on this to see more on that futures trading guide, and you do see that we do still have a strength in and direction indicator based on the technical indicator that we use to create our futures trading guide. If you're interested about that, there's some literature on our webpage. When you go to the futures trading guide, this is more of a premier feature, and I've done a couple webinars on it. It's based on a 9 and 18 day moving average. But there still is our bar chart opinion page right here where we can do that same analysis. But what I want to show you here on this one is that some of the technical analysis is, well, not some, but almost all of it, is different from what we see in our equities, our ETFs, and our currencies. Notice our short-term indicators in our ETFs and equities, 20-day moving average, 2050, 2100, 2200. In futures, we have, a 7-day, a 10 and 8-day, 20-day moving average versus price, 2050, and a 20-day Bollinger Band. So a little bit different in those indicators. Now, some of the ones that I kind of like to look at are the 40-day commodity channel index. It's kind of a little bit of a blend of both um, uh, short-term and long-term, but here you can see that we are trending outside of our channel as our market is trading down, and now we're kind of turning back up as price comes back in. And this is, again, the market's kind of showing me a little bit of a correction. Might be an opportunity to re-engage this channel. If we get to the higher end of the channel, that might be an opportunity to re-engage the short. Or what I'm waiting for is, a breakout of this channel, like we see up here, to maybe signal a new uptrend. But again, if I'm looking at gold as like a race car here, what do we see? Our current strength, our overall signal is still down. It's just that our momentum in the short term, as we just saw the chart, is slowing a little bit, or it's weakening. So what I might do if I'm going to re-engage this trend, I want to probably see that my current direction starts to strengthening. In other words, starting to see price move back down. And you notice that none of our indicators here are bullish. Only a few of them are what we would call holds. Right? We're kind of hanging in there for the time being. All right, the other one I wanted to kind of show you, which I thought was kind of interesting when I was looking this morning, is Tesla. And what do we see here for Tesla? So again, I don't need to go deep into the details of what is going on with Tesla. I just can look at this very quickly, and it's really telling me what market kind of has no direction, right? Last month it was kind of showing me a weak sell. Now, last week it was showing me a buy. Now it's telling me it's a hold. Where's my strength? Well, there's no strength. Right? There's no direction in this trend. No strength in this trend, and the direction is falling. In other words, it's kind of just trading sideways. And if I look at my indicators, right, I see a mixed bag, right? Some are showing me sell indicators, some are showing me buy indicators, right? Again, what I could do is I don't need to go to the chart. I don't even need to go any further. If I'm a Tesla trader, this is kind of telling me, hey, my market is kind of just spinning its wheels. I really just want to wait now for a better opportunity. I want to wait for, our current strength either to increase to the upside or to increase to the downside, or I want to start seeing some of that momentum starting to pick up, moving to average, to strengthening, right, to strongest, depending on that price movement. But I will show you a chart just to kind of reinforce what I'm talking about here, right? And if we look at Tesla, this is a weekly chart, right? We're kind of just stuck in this range. If I look at a daily chart, right, again, we're kind of just stuck in the middle of this range. So again, I think for when you start seeing our strength in indicators showing you this whole thing, right? I said it's kind of a sideways trend. Maybe we wait for market to break out of this range, either on the upside or the downside before we take on a position in Tesla, right? So again, the point being here is why we have such faith in this kind of this indicator, this process, is I don't need to spend a lot of time looking at Tesla. I don't need to spend a lot of time looking at the chart, especially if it's telling me it's going nowhere, right? A car is kind of just sitting there revving, it's kind of idling, and we're waiting for it to get into gear. So that brings me to another point or another aspect of Barchart, which is kind of cool for us, is if I go into my tools section, I'm in the tools section, and under tools, there's something called end of day reports. I can send myself reports at the end of the day based on some technical indicators or one of our different pages. So you can see a few of the ones that we have. But down here for Premier members, we can get reports for certain markets. And two of them that I use that I get sent to me on a daily basis are my trend spotter new signals and the 20 and 100 day MACDs. Remember, these were the indicators, right? These are two of the indicators that I look at that are in our bar chart opinion technical indicators. So I can have that sent to me. They'll tell me if there's a new buy or sell signal, for instance, here in the trend spotter. For futures, again, I use the trend spotter. It's kind of just a little bit of a longer term snapshot, but also here I just told you I kind of look at that 40-day commodities channel index, and I'm looking for a new buy or sell signal. And then if I get that signal, then I can go and do that analysis. And it would be very easy for me then if I got that signal, it's just come and look at my instrument panel and see, hey, is this a market that I want to trade based on what I see in the trend and based on what I see on the momentum. And then when I go to the chart, right, now I have a game plan, what I'm looking for, and I want to see the market reflecting what I want to do. In the case of gold, right, we got a kind of nice double top here. We got the market has just broken out through a neckline, right? Maybe a little bit of an impulse here. Now I'm going to wait for that pullback into that neckline, look for a shorting opportunity, and then, hopefully, then gold could go lower. If my momentum changes, right, and I start getting bullish signals on some of those other technical indicators, then I know I'm wrong and I can just get out of that trade in terms of risk management. So I can do that very quickly based on just looking at my bar chart opinion and our strength and direction. Okay. So I was going to stop to take some questions, Jeans, but I don't see many questions coming through. Do we have any questions that you're seeing through on your end?
Well, John, let me ask you a question, or rather ask you to explain something.
Go ahead.
There's something that our support group gets a lot. If you do me a favor, go back to Tesla. Go back to your Tesla. Yeah, Tesla's showing a hold opinion. And now I want you to go a little bit further down in the navigation and select the analyst ratings all the way down there at the bottom. We frequently get people say, well, hold on. You showed Tesla as a hold and the analysts are saying that it's a moderate buy right now. What gives? So the real difference is, analyst ratings are completely different than bar chart opinion. You really can't compare the two of them at all. Analyst ratings, we usually get them quarterly, and it's based on analysts. In this case, 25 different analysts rated Tesla as a moderate buy. The bar chart opinion is strictly looking at those 13 technical indicators. It's technical analysis in its truest form. So just wanted to make sure I could get that in there, okay?
Yeah, I know that when I talk to the support guys, they said this is one of those questions they get a lot of, right? Folks are like, they kind of think that our bar chart opinion is kind of like an analyst, like you said, and an analyst is going to look at Tesla from a different angle, right? Probably more from a fundamental aspect than from a technical aspect, right? Here we're just really boiling down technical analysis, right? We're kind of boiling it down for you in a, very easy and digestible, um, you know, what I like to call this instrument panel, right? Here's our speedometer, here's our tachometer, right? We're just sitting in park right now, and our engine is on, but it's just not, we're not moving anywhere. We're not going anywhere. So it's a real easy tool for us to use to help us in our technical analysis as we're looking for certain trading opportunities. And the one that I kind of showed you was the one that I use is I want to find markets that have had an overall uh, trending performance, and where we have seen kind of this short-term momentum slow, but now is starting to strengthen again. In other words, our car is still moving down the road at a good clip, but we're kind of like take our foot off the gas as we shift gears, right? Our engine doesn't rev as much, and now we put it in gear and it's ready to take on that trend again. In other words, if I think about technical analysis, right, or trend analysis, right, that series of higher highs and higher lows, I'm really looking at those stocks that have just recently made a higher low, and now I'm looking for that opportunity to take out that higher high. All right, so I see some questions from some of my regulars that are coming up. So this is a great question. Wayne asks, is current strength and direction in real time, or is it as the close of the day? That's a great question. Gene, you want to address that one? I think I know the answer on this one, but I want to make sure.
Well, during the day, strength and direction, all of these indicators, we're constantly monitoring it, and about every 20 minutes or so, you may actually see a change in the indicator opinion or the strength and direction. And at the end of the day, John talked about these end of day reports. Those things are the new signals that whether it has a new buy or sell signal, those are generated end of day after the market has closed. So if the market closes and it was a buy and then it turned to a sell at the end of the day, those are end of day. So I wouldn't say these are real time. We do update them throughout the day, but about every 20 minutes or so, they're recalculated.
So Wayne, here's the thing. If you could see a potential change, a new direction, or a new buy or sell signal in any one of these indicators on an intraday basis, but what Gene is telling us is that you won't get that signal until the end of the day, until we close the day. So you could see it intraday, but you still need to wait for the end of the day to get that new signal. Did I sum that up right, Gene? I think that's kind of what you're telling us, right?
That's correct.
Okay, great. So Thomas asks, what are the indicators for Forex? Okay, great question. So yeah, here's the dollar euro, and you can see they're the same as our equities and our ETFs, right? So they're the same ones, right? Okay. Bren asks, how would I use this approach for options? Well, that's a great question. So, Bren, again, thinking about options, right? We're kind of looking for either a continuation of a trend, or maybe an extreme movement, or maybe what we call mean reversion. So what you could do is wait for, again, like that's what the scenario where I showed you, where you have an established trend, and then wait for that weakness or that momentary pause, right? Maybe calls will become cheaper as the market slows down, or as it pulls back, and then now you're waiting for that impulse, that next impulse. So it can help you a little bit better with your timing with some of your options trades, be it, directional options trades. The other way we can use it is we wait for those extremes, right? Again, if we think about like the dollar, euro dollar, right? We're at maximum, right? We're really starting to see, the dollar in terms of a chart versus, let's say, the euro, right? We just keep going up, but today, right, we're getting that change in momentum, right? And so that might be a way to do some kind of credit spreads where we look to sell volatility instead of buying cheap volatility as we're waiting for a new trend to develop or our impulse to develop. As I showed you with the stock example, here what we could do is wait for those opportunities when we get to that top 100, that 1%, and then look for those momentary changes in directions and momentum changes in directions that could indicate to us that momentum is changing, right? Here's our 20-day, right? It's been cruising along really nicely, but we diverged really far away, and now we're getting that weakest momentum, right? It's moving closer and faster, right? So this would be an opportunity to maybe look to sell some volatility. I hope that answers that question. All right.
There's one more thing I'd like to add into that, John, if you don't mind. As far as option symbols themselves, like if I were looking at a specific option symbol, we do not have a bar chart opinion on those because typically we need at least 200 days of trading activity in order to generate that. So as far as options themselves, you'd be looking at the opinion on the underlying asset and not on the option, the put or the call. Okay.
Awesome. So again, we get I think it's Manira asks about, strength is strong, but direction is weakest. I'm assuming that we're talking about this scenario right here. Again, remember that our strength is the overall, right, of all of these technical indicators, right? Look at all these indicators. They're all showing a buy, right? Right? That speedometer, right? That speed. How fast is our car traveling, right? Our car is traveling at a very good clip, right? What's our chart show us, right? Our chart is showing us, right? Look at that trend, right? Is that a strong trend? That's pretty strong to me, right? Every time it looks like it's re-engaged that trend line, right? It's been a great buying opportunity. But what has happened? It diverged away. It got too far away, and now it's starting to move back. Price is starting to move back towards, our trends, and that's showing weakness, a change in momentum, right? Think about your car. You're going down the road at 100 miles an hour. You take your foot off the gas, right? What does the engine do, right? The tachometer, the revving, the engine, it falls, right? That's telling you there's a potential change in momentum coming in this market. But the car is still going down the road at 100 miles an hour. It's just going to start slowing down unless what? Unless we re-engage our trend and market moves higher again, right? So you can see this divergence between strength and direction. Just think about strength as, your speedometer of your car, how fast your trend is moving, how strong is your trends, all those technical indicators. And direction is it engaged? Is it strengthening it? Is it, moving forward, or is it idling, or is it pausing as it's waiting to re-engage our trend? And that was the examples that I showed you with the stock market. Okay. Just reading a couple of these questions here. So one of the questions is about back testing trend spotter signal, and I think what I can do here, and maybe Gene can help me walk through this, is I can go and look at under trading strategy. Here's trend spotter, and you can do some back testing this way. It'll tell you that how many times the signal has been indicated, and this could be buy and sell signals, and how many days the average trade is, and then what would have been the total profit on this one. But I think, Gene, we can break this down by both buys or sells, can't we? Yes, we can. Yeah. And then you can do a little bit of back testing on this one as well. So that's a way you can go back and see which one, what you might discover is that for some markets, some technical analysis works better than other technical analysis, or that some have a bullish bias or some have a bearish bias. So you can look at that price action and the results based on that technical analysis. So I hope that answers your question. All right.
There's actually one other way to get there, John. Why don't we go to an equity? Go back to maybe Tesla and go to, okay, you're on the bar chart opinion page. You were showing folks how to click on the chart icon to show the signal. Like by trend spotter, there's a chart icon and there's a dollar sign. The chart icon shows you where trend spotter is on a chart today. All right, that shows you the current signal. And if you close this out, and you'll see a dollar sign right there, that takes you directly to, these are hypothetical results of what each indicator, all the trades that historically that we've been tracking for the indicators show, the buys, the sells, the all trades. And in this case, if you were to follow the buy sell signals for Tesla for trend spotter, it resulted in a $2,200 total profit.
Over
Again,
35 different
30,
trades.
right, over a total of 35 different trades.
Right.
And again, this is all hypothetical. If you were to follow it and take the buy sell signal as it occurs on the different asset.
And David, you got to also remember this is what we would call a stop and reverse system, so that we get a buy signal and then it plays out. Once we don't get this chart or this back testing doesn't exit the trade until we get a sell signal, and then that would actually indicate or start a new sell trade. So what is called stop and reverse. And there's no risk management in this. It's just the reverse of the signal itself. So, when you look at back testing and something like that, without any kind of risk management, I think you can get kind of some skewed results. So, just be careful when you start looking at, just don't look at this as, again, you might see a great profit or you might see no profit at all. Because remember, it might take a long time to get a reverse signal, and maybe with risk management, you would have been out of the trade a long time, maybe even for a profit versus a loss. So just be careful when you do your back testing or using this information, that the fact that this is just a reversal entry system and that there's no risk management. Okay. All right. So Monica is asking me, I asked a question about the S&P strength. How is an average versus strong or strong trend? Would it seem that the strength would be strong or the direction momentum doesn't make sense? Please clarify for SPX. All right, so let's go and look at that. All right, so what is the overall opinion? Well, the overall opinion is strong, so, right, strong trend. And if we go into our opinion, right, well, how many are them sell signals? Well, of the 13, 12 out of 13 is strong, right? So you asked in the direction momentum doesn't make sense, right? Well, the average, we have an average direction. Well, if we look at strength and direction, what do we see, right? We see that some of the momentums in some of these indicators are the weakest. So what you're probably going to see here is we're probably got about half our weakest and half our strongest. So if half are weakest and half are strongest, that's going to give you um, an average direction, right? So I think it kind of makes sense. I think you just need to take that second step back and see what we're talking. Remember, this is an overall, but here you can actually look at strength and direction for each individual technical analysis. All right, so Monica, I hope that answers your questions. All right, so let's do this before we run out of time. And so again, what Gene's saying is inside of our slides with our archived session today, you will get this screen of the original one that I showed you, how to look for those uh, impulse drawback type style, buy the dip, buy that lower, higher low type trading strategy. And this is kind of how you can use our strength and direction. But let me give you a final thought here. And that final thought is, now that you understand this instrument panel and what it indicates or how you to read it, I challenge you to start incorporating it into your process, right? And remember how easy it is just to take a moment to check, your speed of your engine, right? Speed of your market, and to see if your engine is performing, at your liking. In other words, you know, am I seeing my car engaging my trend and accelerating away, right? Or is it slowing down, or is it shifting gears, or is it, maybe it's coming to a halt or running out of gas, right? So I hope you guys enjoyed today's session. I think this is one of those tools that we have in our on our webpage that we really believe in. I think it's just makes for helps with us at trading. It just makes for an opportunity for us to be able to look at a lot of markets in a very short period of time and just look at that insert panel and look and see what it is telling us and find those opportunities based on strategies that we've used in the past where we see the same uh, strength and direction indication. Okay. So, again, we started out our session talking about, we want to make sure that we talk about our friends and families that are in Florida, Georgia, in the Carolinas. And folks, please keep your heads down, be safe out there. And until next time, the good of all trading.